In the summer of 2018, I decided to flip my real estate business on its head and change how I do business. I set out to crack the code on getting motivated sellers to reach out to me. And 6 years later, I'm generating $10 million in sales yearly consistently without any cold outreach. And while only putting in, honestly, about 40 hours of work or less on my real estate business. And every day, I help other agents do the same thing. But it wasn't always like this. For nearly a decade before, I sucked at generating business. So here's 23 things I wish I knew sooner that can make your journey easier and turn your real estate business into an income generating machine. After 15 years in this business, here's something I never heard in a single training, brokerage course, or real estate bootcamp. And honestly, it's the one number that finally gave me the confidence to actually scale. See, when I first started, I was trying everything: cold calls, postcards, buying leads from Zillow, running Facebook ads. I mean, you name it, I did it. But the problem, I had no clue what was actually working, and I'd close a deal and be pumped, but was that a lead that was $20 to generate or was it 500? And I couldn't tell you. And without knowing that, how do you grow? It wasn't until I actually sat down and started tracking where my leads came from, how much they cost, and what I was making from them that things finally clicked. Because once I knew that for every $1 I spent, I could be making $10 back, that's when it stopped being a hustle and started turning into a business. And anybody who tells you that cold calling is free has never calculated their own time. Okay. Everything has a cost to it, and you should know exactly what that cost is. And that's the first brutally honest truth I wished I learned way, way earlier. If you don't know your cost of acquisition, you're not actually running a business, you're just guessing. And if you want to see what we're doing daily in our business, click the link in the description below to get on our email list. When you first get your license, I would say it's safe to assume that most of us thought there was going to be a system, right? You think the brokerage you join is going to have this dialed in training, maybe a mentor, maybe a roadmap for how to actually build your business. And so you sit through their classes and you learn the contracts and calculate prorated taxes. And then what? They kind of throw you out there and say, go talk to people. Good luck. That's it. That's the job. No one tells you how to handle awkward conversations. No one teaches you what to say when someone ghosts you after a listing appointment. No one walks you through the emotional roller coaster of going 2 months with nothing in escrow. No one talks to you about how to generate your own leads. And unless you're lucky enough to land on a really solid team, you're kind of on your own, right? I mean, I remember asking questions early on, legitimate questions, and just being made to feel dumb. And I came with a business background, lots of sales experience. I wasn't some 22-year-old just trying to wing it. I just thought someone would show me kind of how this worked. But the truth is, no one does. No one teaches you how to actually do this job. It's something you figure out the hard way, usually alone. This one, frankly, just sucks, and it does get a little bit easier, but you just don't expect it. You think your friends, right? The people who you know, who've seen you grind, who cheer you on, are going to be the first to support your new business. But then here's what actually happens. You'll be busting your ass, making calls, posting content, sending out your little, just got licensed message to everyone you know, because that's what all the trainings teach you to do. And then one day, someone says, oh, hey, did you hear Julie just sold her house? And your stomach drops, right? Because you just talked to Julie last month. She smiled, she nodded, and she said, yeah, of course, I'll reach out when the time comes. And then she hired someone else. I've had that happen more times than I can count. And every time it does sting a little bit. But here's the deal. Your friends, they're not thinking about you or your business. They're thinking about what's easiest and best for them. And if they bought their house 10 years ago and their old agent has been sending them postcards every 6 months, following up with them, that's who they're going to use. Not because they're trying to hurt you, just because they weren't that invested in you being their agent to begin with. I mean, to be fair, you're kind of newly licensed, so why should they use you? And that's okay. And some friends will use you, but a lot of them just won't. And it's not personal. It just really feels that way. So here's the brutal truth. Your friends won't use you. And the sooner you stop counting on them to build your business, the faster you're going to actually build it. Number 4, the joy of being a new agent. I remember thinking real estate was going to be all about helping people. Like, you get your license, you join a brokerage, and you just start showing houses and negotiating deals, writing contracts, listing properties, real estate things. But turns out this business is mostly about trying to get anyone to give you a shot. So recently I was listening to Alex Hormozy, and he talked about understanding what business you're in. And he brings up the example of a cleaning business, a business where it's very easy to actually get the business. The hard part is performing on the business, and constantly hiring people. So turns out that business was actually a recruiting and training business, right? If your bottleneck is in getting new clients, but the actual work is easy to perform, you're more of a marketing business, right? And I so wish I would have understood that in the beginning, but this is kind of how it goes. So even now, with multiple deals under contract, I've got 5 or 6 currently, I maybe spend 1 or 2 hours a day managing those actual transactions. The rest of the time, it's either follow up or it's hunting for new clients. In fact, when I was still doing cold outreach, I spent 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day just prospecting, right? Cold calls, cold texts, cold DMs had nothing to do with real estate. Just trying to get in front of someone, anyone who might be willing to work with me. And I get it now. This job isn't really about selling homes. It's about finding people to help over and over and over again every single day. Because until someone signs on the dotted line and says, yeah, I want you to represent me, you're just a hopeful person with a license. So yeah, 80% of real estate is just finding someone to work with. Lesson number 5 here is such a crazy stat, but you're going to hear some wild stats in your real estate business. So starting with, there are over 4 million licensed real estate agents in the US. Okay, let that sink in for a second. 4 million people walking around with the legal ability to help someone buy or sell a home. Now, here's the part nobody tells you. Only half of them close even one deal a year. One. And it gets worse. It's not like the other half are just out there killing it. You've got 20% of agents doing the bulk of the work, and 5% of them, yeah, they're the ones really cashing the checks, doing 95% of all the volume. So when you're just getting started and you're sitting there feeling overwhelmed, wondering if you're even going to cut it out for this job, just know if you've closed 2 or 3 deals, you're already in the top third of agents nationally. The bar just isn't that high. But that's the problem. The barrier of entry in this business is so low that just having a license doesn't mean a damn thing. Everyone and their cousin in real estate has a license. But the ones who, actually treat it like a business, the ones who get consistent, they rise real fast. So yeah, number 5, only 50% of agents close a single transaction in a single year. Remember that the next time you're doubting yourself. Back when I first got into the business, I used to think the brokerage name mattered. Starting to sound like an old curmudgeon in this business, the ones you hear about that are like, I've been in this business for 40 years, and let me tell you something. Yeah, I'm starting to be that guy. But hopefully, I can actually bring you some value. But I did think the brokerage name mattered a whole lot. I really did. I thought if I joined this big national firm, that stamp on my card was going to actually mean something. Like, look, I made it. I'm with them. And I'd meet sellers and feel this weird sense of pride for no reason. Like, surely this logo on my email signature made me more credible, right? Wrong. 15 years in, after sitting across from thousands and thousands of sellers, I can count maybe on one hand how many people actually gave a crap about the brokerage I was with. What they do care about: can you help me sell my house? Can you solve my problem? And are you trustworthy? That's it. You could be with the biggest firm in the country or your cousin's basement brokerage, and if they believe you can help, that's what matters. So yeah, no one cares about your brokerage. Sorry. And speaking of the big bad brokerage firm, here's something they don't tell you when you're touring offices and sitting through their welcome pitch. Your brokerage firm is not your business partner. It's not your coach. It's not your safety net. Sure, they might help you through with some training, and some of them can be good on helping you launch your business, but it is a business, and you're their revenue stream. Without you, they have no business. Every transaction you do, they're skimming their cut off the top. Maybe it's 20%, maybe it's 30, maybe it caps after a while, 20, 30, 40 grand a year, but they're making money whether you succeed or not. Most of them have a monthly cut that they take plus a percentage of your transaction. And if you're on a team inside that brokerage, now you're splitting commission with them too, right? It's like 2 businesses before it even hits your bank account or skimming off the top. That $15,000 check might shrink down to 5 real quick after all the hands are done digging into it. I've seen agents give up 30, 40, 50 grand a year in splits just because they didn't realize how math worked. So let's stop pretending. Your brokerage is making money off of you, and that's their business model. Have you ever heard this one before? Call them until they cry, buy, or die, or the 7 days of pain follow-up method. I used to believe that junk. Okay? I thought I had to call every new lead 3 times a day for a week straight, or I wasn't doing my job. So I'd hammer the phones, I'd leave voicemails, I'd be sending texts, I'd be chasing people who clearly did not want to talk to me. And dude, it's miserable. And then one day I realized, most of the people who actually want to buy or sell, they pick up the phone. They respond to the first message. They're ready to go. Okay? The ones I had to chase down like a bounty hunter, they never became real clients anyway. Sure, maybe a few did, but most of them didn't. And look, I believe in follow-up, right? But there is a difference between staying top of mind and becoming a stalker. So here's the truth. You don't need to call a lead 3 times a day until the answer. And if someone's teaching you to do that, run. Lesson number 9. I can remember early on in my real estate career, every training program kind of taught the same thing. Work your sphere. Buffini, Tom Ferry, Ninja, and there's a lot of good aspects of each of these training programs, and you should go through them and you should take out the pieces that work for you. Reach out to your friends and family, let them know you're in real estate, ask if they know anyone looking to buy or sell. And it felt really weird. I just sucked at it. Like I was turning every friendship into a sales pitch, calling people I hadn't spoken to in years just to say, hey, I'm in real estate now. Know anyone looking? It wasn't me, and it never felt right. I realized I'd rather talk to 1,000 strangers than chase down 5 friends. And you know what? It worked because I built my business on real leads, not on guilt trips. So yeah, some of your friends will use you, but trying to turn all your friendships into transactions, it's just a fast way to ruin both. You don't have to alienate your friends to grow your business. Long before I was in the real estate space, I worked for a software company selling software to car dealerships. Now, there's something you should know about car dealers. They have some of the most advanced trainings in the world on closing tactics, objection handling, anything, scripts, assumptive closes, you know, before you've even agreed to buy the car, they've got you answering all these yes questions in a row, right? Just to make the next step that much easier for you to go off of. And I tried bringing that same energy to the real estate space. And I failed horribly at it, right? It just wasn't me. So I went back to my memory bank and pulled out a meeting that I had with a car dealer in Utah. Wonderful guy. I'll never forget him. We were going through my sales pitch, my software. I was young. I was in my young 20s, right? Meeting with this guy who was well making into the 7 figures, like, and just not batting an eye. Like I knew what I was doing. And went through the pitch, got completed with it. And after it was all said and done, he told me the same thing most of them told me, like, we don't buy on the first, visit. Just kind of set the stage of like, you're not going to get me. You're not going to close me. And I did my job and I asked him at least 6 times, 7 times, whatever to buy. And we kind of joke about it, all the closing tricks and whatnot. And once I was done, I closed up my computer, right? And I said, hey, Jim, I'm kind of young. You guys run a great dealership here. You're a really nice guy. What can I do better? Like, how can I be better at my job? Forget it. I know you're not going to buy at least today, right? We'll touch base in a week or two. But how can I be better at my job? Right. And he just looks at me and he kind of brushes off my shoulders and he goes, what you need to do is you need to be you. Once the sales pitch was done, Alex, and we just started talking, like, and I told you no multiple times, not going to happen. The conversation changed. You remember that? Remember how that felt? And once it changed, I could be myself and you could be yourself. And I was a lot more comfortable with doing business with you. No, I'm not going to buy today, but like we can do business in the future. So if there's one thing I can tell you, Alex, about being as good as you can possibly be, it's just be yourself, right? You don't need all these sneaky, tricky sales tactics. And, when you stop playing a character and just show up as you, people connect. Trust builds faster. Deals come easier. You don't need manipulation. You need authenticity. So the truth here, you don't need any special closing tricks to get someone to sign. It'll just come naturally. Number 11, good old controversy when it comes to real estate agents and how we're ruining the world by overpricing properties. Well, here's a fun little story. Early on, I'd walk into listing appointments with like a clear number in my head, right, of what I think the house is worth. I'd pull comps, I'd run my analysis, and I would tell the seller, hey, this is what I think you should sell your house for. A couple of years ago, I got someone who got me to change my mind on this whole thing. So here's a scenario, right? And this day and age, in the last couple of years, things have been a little bit goofy, and it makes a lot more sense. Generally, a house has a range in what it's going to sell for, right? 625 to 675. So when a seller wants to meet with you, and they give you the age-old question of, well, what do you think it's worth? What do you think you can sell it for? Well, Mr. Seller, let's take a look at all the data, right? This is the same information that I'm looking at. In the last 12 months, it looks like the range of properties, let's say it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, it's super easy to comp out, right? They've all sold from 600 to 700,000. That varies on condition and the view of the condo, right? So you know your property better than anybody else. If you were to put a price on your property, where would you put it? 675. That's what we're going to get for this place. Great. All right. Well, let's go get started. Let's get the paperwork going and we can get you set up and gone at 675. So in that same scenario, if I had gone in there and been like, Mr. Seller, I think it's going to sell at 650, and me and you both know it's probably going to get 650 because it's in pretty average condition. But when I go in there telling the seller, this is what I think, how do we know that that's actually right? What if we do get 675, right? What if it's in the range of reality? Now, if they want seven and a quarter, 750, maybe we're not a good fit to work together, right? But if you know that, hey, we might end up at 650, maybe we end up at six and a quarter, but I'll give 675 the old college try. I'll put all my marketing efforts in there. I will stand behind you. Let's go and do it. And then we miss the mark. I wasn't the one who made the call, right? I wasn't the one who priced their property, right? It's not your job to price the property. It's your job to have the information of what it might be able to sell for and have a range, but ultimately let the seller make the decision. Your job is to get the seller to where they want to be. Because the truth is, you're not here to tell someone what their house is actually going to sell for. You're here to help them sell their property. If someone were to ask you what you did for a living, there's a good chance you say, I help people buy and sell houses, right? Something along those lines, some variation of it. Maybe you got a little tricky one-liner up your sleeve that sounds really good. You don't really do that, okay? Here's what actually happens. You put the home online, someone sees it, they either want it or they don't. Most buyers know within 7 seconds of walking into a place if it is the one. They've already looked up the neighborhood, they've looked up the photos, the school district, the comps. You're not convincing anyone. You're facilitating a process. And in fact, one of the most infuriating things, if you're an agent now, maybe you're representing a buyer and you call to find out certain pieces of information about the property, and the conversation goes like this. Oh my gosh, you should see this house on Main Street. It is the cherry of the neighborhood. It is the best location. It has the most amazing views. It's had all these updates to it. You're not going to find this home. Anyone who buys this home is going to be lucky that the seller even accepted your offer because it is so cherry and blah, 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 blah. Oh my God. I was calling to find out what was important to the seller. I already know everything about the house. Okay. It's all online as long as it was presented properly. Like, there's no mistaking what the house is. You're not here to help people buy or sell houses. Our real job is to put out fires. Our real job is to keep people calm, manage emotions, navigate timelines, and that's the real work. Okay. So let's stop pretending that we're selling something because we're not. Agents don't sell houses. Houses sell themselves. We guide people through the process. Lesson number 13. Let's be real for a minute here. This job is full of bullshitters. Okay. It's real estate. It's one of the biggest industries in the world. And when you're new, it's really tempting to play that game. Okay. To overpromise, to inflate your confidence, bluff a little, right? But here's the thing. People can smell it. Everyone knows. They may not call you out on it, but they can feel it. And it kills trust before you even realize what happened. You sit across from a seller, pitching a number you know is just too high just to win the listing, and they nod and they smile, and then they go hire someone else, right? And that was me partially early on, right? Trying too hard to impress, saying what I thought they wanted to hear, fancy listing presentation, and it backfired every single time. What works? Being honest, even when it's uncomfortable, because while clients might not like what you tell them, they're going to respect it. People can tell when you're lying, so just don't. Number 14, and this is an interesting one that happens over time in your real estate career once you start to get a good-sized book of business happening. It's kind of funny the way that it happens. And, I remember the first time I had 5 or 6 listings going at once, right? I walked into this new seller appointment with totally different energy. I wasn't desperate. I wasn't trying to win them over, convince them of anything. I was just present, confident, honest. And you know what? The seller felt it, right? They leaned in, they trusted me, and they signed. It just happened quickly. It's like people can sense whether or not you're trying to chase them and whether or not you're desperate. And the minute you stop chasing them, they stop running. So here's the reality. Here's the lesson. The moment you stop needing clients, they start wanting to work with you. Number 15, and this is an evolution that will happen once you start to build up your book of business. Early on, man, I'd take any listing I could get, any buyer I could get. Didn't matter how unreasonable they were or how overpriced the home was. Like, if they were breathing and said yes, I was in. Done. But over time, I learned that some deals just aren't worth it. I remember walking away from a seller who was insisting on listing for $100,000, over market value. I laid out the date, asked if they'd be willing to drop if we didn't get an offer at that price, and they said no. So I walked. And a few months later, they still hadn't sold. 3 agent laters, they still haven't sold. And I was grateful that I didn't spend 6 months and $2,500 marketing a dead end listing. So, yeah, it sucks in the moment, but in the long term, it's really what allows you to grow your business. Over the last couple of years, since the market's gotten a little shakier, I think I've turned away 6, 7, 8 clients on the listing side. And to date, only one of them have sold, and all of them have gone through 3 or 4 different agents. And I'm glad I just wasn't a part of the mix. But had I not had a lot of other business queued up, I probably would have taken a few of those. And it would have burned me, and it would burn me in pocketbook, and I would have been too busy to take on people who did want to sell. So, the lesson here is sometimes the best deals are the ones you walk away from. Number 16, and this one has taken me a while to accept some. Once I did, it kind of changed how I looked at everything, right? How I treat everybody who calls me. I make zero assumptions about their knowledge base, okay? There's a lot of nuances in real estate and a lot of stuff that you will never have heard of, okay? You'll deal with agents who don't know the difference between pre-foreclosure, a foreclosure, an REO, and you're going to have to get over it. And you're going to have to see agents who submit sloppy offers that you're going to have to counter and fix for them. Agents who ask, who owns the property, and weird stuff like that you couldn't imagine you're going to come across. And it's frustrating. But if you expect it, you can lead in the transaction, okay? You can walk them through the process. And sometimes it is your job to get both sides to the finish line, okay? Your job is to represent generally the seller, right? Or the buyer. Sometimes you have to walk the other party through it to get the job done. Because let's face it, most agents don't know what they're doing. Someone's got to keep the deal on track. Number 17, this is a fun one. I can feel every Facebook real estate group falling apart and coming unhinged just as I think this thought. So say this one in a Facebook group and watch people melt down. If you list a house for less than 2.8%, you're not ruining the industry. You're just running your business, okay? We all get paid well. The idea that every listing has to be at some sacred percentage is just nonsense. Here's my rule. If the deal makes sense, I'm taking it, okay? If the client's easy to work with and the house is going to move, sure, I'll knock a quarter point off, half a point off. Not every deal is the same. Not every commission should be either. So let's stop pretending for a second. All these courses do teach you how to hold your own at 2.8%. But you know what? If you came to me and you've bought 10, 20, 30 houses over the last decade or two, you're going to be a whole lot easier to deal with than someone who I have to explain every contract, every line of every deal to. So yeah, my business is dependent on pricing to your knowledge base and how easy it's going to be, right? Listing for less than 2.8% doesn't make you the enemy. It makes you a business owner. Number 18, the biggest time suck, time trap in the world. And I'm going to give you some permissions here because one of the biggest traps I fell into early on was trying to be everywhere. Social media, right? Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. It just goes on. I had 100 followers on each platform and I had no idea what I was doing. Okay. And guess what? Only one of those platforms actually ever brought me any business. The rest, just a complete waste of time. Okay. So now I double down where I'm strongest and I do that well. Okay. Once I've maxed it out, then I think about the next one, right? This is another Alex Hormozy lesson. If you're not doing one platform to the best of your ability, don't think about doing two. That might be Instagram, or that might be TikTok, or that might be LinkedIn. Whichever platform you're on the most and you know the best, that's the platform that you want to focus on. Okay. Trying to be everywhere at once just waters down your message and it's not worth it. Okay. Trust me. So if you're stressing over keeping up with content, pick one platform, get really good at it. You don't need to be everywhere. You just need to show up where it counts. Number 19, let's talk about money for a second. Because, let's be real. That's why you're in this business. Can't say I've met many people who got into real estate for any other reason besides money. This business does pay well, but only when you get paid. Okay. There are still times today where I might go 3, 4, 5 months without a single paycheck. Okay. If I didn't have my reserves, I would so be out of the game, and we are losing a lot of agents today. Okay. Deals fall apart. Sellers change their mind. Buyers ghost you. Markets shift. And the work you do today, you might not see the money from it for 90 to 180 days. Okay. If it closes, signing a client is no guarantee of a payday. It's the potential for a payday. Okay. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck, this business will break you. You will go months without getting paid. So plan for it. This career is going to chew you up. Number 20 is maybe the most ridiculous lesson of all of these lessons, but it's almost kind of supernatural the way it happens. If you want business, book a vacation. Pretend for a second it's a slow season. You're finally taking time off. And the second that flight is paid for, boom, the buyer who ghosted you 6 months ago is ready to write an offer, ready to go look at properties. That seller you've been nurturing for over a year, yeah, hey, I'm ready to list now. Can we meet next week? It always happens. You can't avoid it. Trust me, the best way to book business is to book a vacation. Okay. So instead of stressing, just build systems that let you step away. Because here's what I know for sure. The moment you try to take a real vacation, your business is going to explode. Number 21. Imagine for a minute. It's 10:45 p.m. Bing! Text message. Calls during your kid's birthday party. That, hey, call me message at midnight with no context whatsoever. That's the worst one. That's one I hate more than anything. Call me. No, sir, I will not call you, but I promise you I'm going to think about it for the next 4 hours. Dang it. It sucks. I've seen it all. And if you don't set boundaries, your clients will walk right over every single line. I used to answer everything, always be available, thought it made me look committed. But all it really did was it burned me out. Now, I work hard, I follow up, but after a certain hour, I am done. We're not saving lives here, okay? And funny enough, people respect it more, right? Because when you treat this like a job, not a 24/7 hotline, people take you a bit more seriously. So remember, if you don't set your schedule, your clients will set it for you. Number 22 applies to any business you could be in. And I think this is some of the wisest words I was ever told when I was younger. This business will humble you. One year you're riding high, 15 deals, money coming in, everything clicking. Next year, you're struggling to get one listing signed, right? And here's the thing. Everyone hits that wall eventually, whether it's burnout, life changes, or the market's shifting. Like there will come a time where you will fall off pace, right? And when that happens, you'll remember how you treated people on the way up. Be nice to everyone on the way up, so you've at least got one or two friends on the way back down. Oh, 23. We're going to end this on one that no one really tells you. But if you want to see how we're scaling our business, how we're consistently generating deals and leads, even in a funky market, just get on my email list below in the link in the description, and I'll show you exactly how we're doing it today. But this isn't a job, okay? This is not a side hustle. This is not about selling homes. This is a business. Real estate is a business. And if you don't treat it like one, it will eat you alive. Okay. You need systems. You need a marketing budget. You need follow-up, accounting, lead tracking, structure. Okay. Because if you're not tracking your time, your ROI, your pipeline, you're just guessing. And guesswork doesn't scale. Okay. So if you're wondering what separates the ones who last from the ones who fade, is you must run your real estate career like a business, because it's exactly what it is. Now, if you find yourself wondering how to actually scale your business, we've spent over $1 million on ads, and that is how we scale what we're doing in our business to find motivated sellers. And we put together this video that shows you exactly what we've learned after spending over $1 million on paid ads.